So in this video, we are going to be continuing on the beginner's guide to SDL2 and C language. This is the 9th video, so if you're just joining us, you're going to need to go to GitHub, Programming Rainbow, Beginner's Guide to SDL2 in C, and you're going to need to clone that repository. And we're going to be continuing on from the source code from the last video. So I'm going to be copying 0.8 sound effects and renaming it to 0.9 music for this video. Okay, and what we're going to be covering in this video is we're going to be covering how to play music, how to pause music, how to load and unload it, and we're going to also be adding an icon to our program as well. So the window icon, we're going to be doing that in this video as well. Okay, so we have seen the GitHub. Let's look at the code. Like I said, I'm not going to be using this existing 9 code. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one. And I'm going to take the 8th code. I'm going to copy that. And then paste it. And then I'm going to call that, let's say 0.9, let's say music and icon. So we have music and icon. This is an old binary. I'm just going to delete that. Okay. So this should be the code that you have for video number 8. Right away, we're going to change the title up here. We'll say 9, music, and icon. Okay, so we've already set up in the last video, we already set up the sound library. We've loaded it, we've unloaded it, we've loaded music chunks or sound chunks, and we've played those. So we're going to be dealing with something slightly different in this one. We're still using the same module, the music module, but we're loading a different type of file this time. This one is going to be mix load muse is the function, and it's going to return a mix music. That's going to be our type that is heap allocated in the pointer return to us. So we're going to load it with the mix load muse, and the way we unload it is with mix free music. I know those two names don't match up, but that's how we load and unload those two. So let's do that before we do anything else. Let's load the music that we're going to use, and then we'll also unload it immediately too. So the music file that we're going to be working with is here in the music folder, and it's called Free Software Song. This is a parody song. This was from Richard Stallman. Yeah, so it's just you may know this if you know the open source, or you can Google it, but this is just an 8-bit version of the free software song. So this is the song that we're going to be using for this. So we're going to go down to load media. And again, we don't need to load the sound module or anything like that because we've already done that. So first I'm going to, before we get into loading it, I'm going to make the pointer that we need. So it's going to be mix music. It's going to be a pointer, and we'll just call it music. So there's our music there. And here we will initialize it to null. Oops, sorry. Music equals null. And now we should be able to load it. Oh, we'll load it first, then we'll unload it. Into load media section. So under the last thing that we've loaded before, I'm just going to copy this entire function because it's similar enough to what we're doing. So again, let's look at the function. So mix load muse, it's going to take a string to the file, and that file is in our music folder, and it's called free software song, something like that. And it's just returning the pointer to the heap allocated object. So we're just going to be checking for null to see if it errored or not. So it's mix load muse. Mix load muse. Let's change this to music. And now this isn't in the sounds folder, this is in the music folder. So it's music and then it's free software song 8-bit. And it's an OGG file as well. Okay, and then we're going to check that pointer to make sure it was populated. And if it fails, we're going to say error loading music, because it's SDL music, but I'll just put music here. We'll know what it means. And it is still a mix error. Okay, so that is us loading the music. So before we test it, let's clean up after ourselves. So here we made sure that we halted our channels before we started freeing them. So let's do the same with our music. So before we actually free the music object, let's talk about halting it. Here we go. So mix halt music. It doesn't take a pointer to anything, because what happens is when you play the music, there's just an internal music, whatever file you've told it to play as music. This function is, there's only one music file played at a time. So this function is just halting whatever music is playing. And it's going to return 0 regardless of what any music has halted. So it has an int return, but we're not really interested in it. So it's just a void function here. So we're going to halt it, and then we will mix free music on it. So since this is kind of halting stuff, I'm going to put these separately just so I can see them. So I'm going to halt the playing of the music and the channels, and then we'll start freeing the pointers. Okay, and there's no parameter that we need to pass to music. So we have mix halt music and then mix halt channel, and the -1 is for all channels. And then down here we will do our mix free music. And in here we do need our pointer to our music object. And we got game music there. Okay, so that should load and unload our music for us. I'm going to move this just so that I can visually see the code a little better. I'm going to move this away from the freeing of the pointers and put it down here. You don't need to do this. I'm just doing it for myself, just to at a glance see that yes, I'm stopping my music, I'm stopping my channels, I'm freeing up my heap allocated objects, and then I'm shutting down systems. So I'm just doing that visually for myself. Okay, I'm going to save this, and we're going to test it out real quick. So it should be GCC. Nope, that's not what I want. Okay, so we need all the GCC. There we go. But we need more than that. -L. Here we go. Now we're getting closer. We'll say 9 music icon, and we'll output the same as a binary, not a source file. Okay. Now we will play it, and we're not expecting to hear any music playing yet. We haven't played any music. I just want to see, is it loading the music without erroring, and is it shutting it down? Okay. And it looks fine. So let's work on playing some music. So I'm gonna remove these two functions from my list here. So we're gonna have a couple things here. We're gonna play music, but a lot of times anything that's in the game loop, I don't check it to see if it fails. But this music, I'm gonna make it start playing before the game loop, and I'm gonna check to see if this one fails. It's not a sound effects; it's actual music. So I'm gonna, when I run this function, I'm actually gonna check the failure on this, and it returns 0 on success and -1 if there's an error. So this is gonna play the music. We need the pointer to the music, and then we need loops. And I believe, I'm not sure if it's documented here, but But the loops, if you put it as -1, it will play indefinitely. See. It doesn't mention it here, but it will play indefinitely. There also may be a in the header file there may be a macro or an enum that is play indefinitely. I can't remember, but it's just -1, and that'll mean the music will, when it ends, it'll automatically start from the beginning again. So I'm going to wrap this in an if statement because we're checking the failure of it. And this, again, like I said, will be right before the main game loop. So right up here, let's see. Right here. Yeah. I'm going to put it right before this while loop starts running. So we'll say if. Okay, so we need the pointer to the music. And then we need how many times we want it to loop. And I'm putting -1 because I just want it to loop indefinitely. Okay, I'm going to grab an error statement from down here somewhere. Or I could grab a music error statement. I'll just grab this mix one. Okay, so we have our error playing music. It's going to be the error. And it's a mix error. Yep. So that's going to start playing our music. And let's just test that real quick. I've got a problem here. So music is not. Oh, I know what's going on. It's not a. Yeah, we're not dereferencing the music pointer here. It's actually the music object itself. So it's a dot. It's just the member. Okay, recompiling. I'll listen in this time.
SDL.
Okay, so that works. What I would like to add now is a way to pause the music, because basically the music is just going to play indefinitely, and if you don't want to listen to the music or you'd like to stop it for a while, we're going to add that ability. We're not actually going to stop the music, we're going to pause the music, which means when we resume the music will continue in the spot that it was paused in. So that is playing the music. And we're only halting the music right before we clean up for this program. So we're done with that function. So we have these three functions here. One of them is music mix paused music, and then we have mix pause music, and we have mix resume music. Now the very first one with the D in it, this is actually just returning a true or false, like a Boolean for us. So C didn't have Booleans before. So it's returning an int, but it's returning 0 or 1. It's the same effect. But it's telling us, is the music actually paused right now? So we can check it. If it's paused, we can resume it. And if it's not paused, we can pause it. So we can use that as a latching switch that switches between one or the other. So what we'll do is we'll use this to check if it's paused. And this is just a void function, but it's returning this int, but it's acting as a Boolean for us. And the other two are, this is a void function, and this is also a void function. So these are we're just going to call them directly. And this is just the one we're going to use for our logic on whether we should pause it or unpause it. Okay? So I'm going to do that in the game loop here. I'm going to have another case for another key press. And I'm going to say, M for mute. We could do P for pause, whichever one you like. I'm gonna choose M for this one. So we're gonna do the same scan code. I'm just gonna pick A and then change it. And M, that it'll be M for me. Okay. Now we're gonna do that. We're gonna check to see if it's paused, and we're gonna wrap that in an if statement. It's paused music. If paused music, and this is a function. Let me just, before I forget, I'm gonna put the break here. Okay, so if our music is paused, we want to resume it. So that's going to be mix, resume music. And then we'll just put an else on it. Do mix, pause, music. Okay, so if it is paused, we're gonna resume, else we're gonna pause it. And we have our break statement at the end of that. That should be good. I've spelled this wrong. Okay. Now this time, I'm gonna let it play long enough for me to hear it, and then I'm gonna pause it. And then I'll unpause it, and then I'll quit. So that's what you should be trying to hear on this one.
SDL. 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 SDL.
It sounds like it's working.
SDL.
I'm going to unpause it now.
SDL. SDL. SDL.
Okay.
SDL. SDL. SDL.
Okay. There is a delay between me saying that I'm going to unpause it and unpausing. That is just because I'm monitoring from the live stream, so I'm hearing it delayed, but it actually happens right away. So we've added this music, we've paused it and unpaused it, and we got pretty much the whole music thing going. So what I would like to do now is I would like to add an icon to this game. The window icon that shows. I'll open it up again. So if you were in a floating Windows manager, say Windows, you would have a title up here. This name that's right here. It would say that, and then you might have an icon here or over here and something to close your window. And also, maybe in your toolbar, there's an icon there. That's the icon that we're going to be setting, and I will show it to you at the end of this. After we've set it all up, I will show the icon. So yeah, let's look at those functions. So one of them we've already partially dealt with one before. It is we're going to be loading a surface. Now we've created a surface from a texture before, but we haven't loaded an image directly as a surface. We've always loaded it directly as a texture because that is hardware accelerated. But for setting an icon for the window, we don't need a hardware accelerated image. We just need an actual surface. Yeah, we just need a surface, and then we can actually unload it right away. We just need it long enough to set it, which is the next one, this SDL set window icon. So we're going to use this. We're going to take a pointer to the window and a pointer to the surface, and that's going to set it. And then we can immediately unload it. We don't even need to check to see if it was set or anything, because it's a returning void. So although we haven't done this before, we've worked with surfaces before. Just this time we're actually loading an image as a surface. So it's doing the same thing. We're getting a pointer to the heap allocated surface, and we're going to check it for null after we've loaded it. So I am going to put this in a different section. Before I'm loading all the media in this load media section, but I consider this not loading media. I consider this as initialization. So I'm going to put it here in the initialization. So I have this render loaded already. And right down here before I set the SRAM, this is where I'm going to do it. So we can make a local surface variable for this one that we can unload immediately. So I'll just do that. So it'll be SDL surface. We can call it icon surf. And then we got our function. And this is going to just take the file name. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the logo that I've already used, the C, where is it? And the images. This C logo right here, this is what I'm going to use. So we could, if we wanted to, we could have loaded the C logo one time, used the surface to set the window icon, and then we could have changed that surface to a texture. But this is good because now you've seen all the different ways to load textures and to get their width and their height from them. And so it's kind of covering all the bases. Even though we are kind of loading the same image twice, it's okay for this. But you can see how it's done both ways. So we have it's in images, the logo, PNG. And now we need to check this to make sure the image did load. And on this one, it's not a game object. It is just icon surface. We have the icon surf. If this is null, we'll say loading icon surface or loading surface. And this is a image error. Okay. So that's going to load our surface, but now we need to use this other function here to set the window icon. And this is returning void. It takes a Windows pointer to the window, and a pointer to the surface. And we're not checking this if it failed or not. We can't. It doesn't even have that ability. So it's going to be the game window and this specific surface. Okay. And then right away we can unload this surface. We're not using this surface we're not holding it in our game struct at all. So we can free it right now. I mean, we can't even free it in our other thing because we're only holding it locally. The pointer is only being held in this function right here, this initialize. So the pointer will go out of scope. If we don't free it right now, it'll still be on the heap without without access to it because the pointer will be out of scope. So to free any surface, it's SDL free surface. Okay, so we are loading a surface just locally as a local variable, and we're checking to make sure that it is not null. If this function fails, it will return null to this. So if this fails, it's null. If it succeeds, then we have something. So we're checking to see if it's null here. We're setting the window icon, and then we are freeing that surface immediately. Okay. I'm going to pause the music when I launch it. Okay. Okay, so we can't actually see the icon here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into a nested X Windows session and start up KDE and try to display this icon there. So what's it called? Yeah, there it is. So I'm just going to run a nested window session that's going to be using a floating window manager. And I'm in the exact same system. So the code that I just compiled is the code that is available to me here. So it's going to open up Alacrity and we can cd. Yeah. And this is the exact folder I was just working in. And the code that we just compiled is right here. Okay, so this time when I run it, we should see an icon right here in this left corner, not of this window, but the window that pops up, and the icon down here, this icon right here for this new application. Okay, here it is. Pausing the music.
SDL.
And there's our icon. And there's our icon down there. And if we hover it, it's there. So if you were in Windows or another floating manager that showed an icon, and you can see our title message that we put up here, the 09 music and icon that we set that earlier. So there's our icon. There's our icon. It's all working.
SDL.
Okay. And I am going to close this. So let's just walk through all the parts of this quickly. What we've done here is we've added music, a pointer to a music object, and also we've initialized it to null. And then in our initialize function, that's load media. Sorry, in our load media function, we have actually loaded it. It's the free software song 8-bit version. And we're checking to see if it failed or not. And then before a game loop, just before a game, we're starting the music in an indefinite loop. We're checking to make sure that it didn't fail. So we're actually checking this one because it's more of a major thing, I guess. It's not happening inside the loop. I actually want to know if the music started. And in our loop, we're checking to see if M was ever pressed. And then we're checking if it's paused, we resume it. If it's not paused, we pause it. So that gives us the ability to pause and resume the music. In our cleanup, we are halting music, just like we halted our channels. We're freeing the music, and all the other stuff is still the same because we have that still belongs to the audio section. Okay, so then we're setting up the icon now. So the icon, we just made a local variable, a local SDL surface variable right here. We just loaded in. So this function's a bit shorter because it's just image load, not load texture, I think it is. This one's just load. It's loading a surface. So we're loading the C logo as a surface, and we're making sure that that is set, and then we are making sure it's not null. And then we're using the SDL set window icon function with the window pointer to set that surface, and then immediately freeing that surface because we need to take care of its resource. Okay, I don't know if I have my stronger compiler here. Let's grab a little bit stronger, and we can check to see if we have any kind of memory. I'm gonna just grab it from the make file in the other project. And here, let's look at the make file real quick. I'm gonna grab not the Windows one, yet this one right here. So I'm gonna grab these C flags right here, just all of these. They may need these too, I can't remember. Let's try those. Okay, I'm going to use all of those. Okay. And then 09 music. music, and icon. And then we need some libraries. Okay, so we have the SDL, let's say image. So if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm basically throwing in all the errors that I can throw at it just to see if I have any memory leaks, if I have any other mistakes, just see how this code runs before I go. TTF. Mixer. Not sure if I'm missing anything. Let's see if I got the command right. Okay. So it's complaining a couple things. We got a prototype missing. Okay. Oh, right. We need to have void in here in main. Where's the main function start at? So up here, put void, and then we have a hold style definition at 42. Oh, that was there. Okay. Converting int to UN18, 88. Okay. So we need to cast these to they need to be UN8s, not ints. We are only doing between 0 and 255 anyway, so they will be within that range. That may work that way. I'm not sure if I have to wrap the whole thing. Let's just try it again. Okay. This is a misspelling here, right here. Okay. Now when we run it, we're going to know if we have any memory leaks. I'm going to unload it right away, and it's beautiful. So a couple little, we added, cleaned up the code a little bit. I was doing pretty well there. I made a couple little, basically I'm turning on all the errors. I'm turning on extra errors. I'm turning on pedantic mode. A couple other warnings, not errors. A couple other, a whole bunch of other types of warnings. And then I'm turning all those warnings into errors. So if any warning occur, it doesn't even compile. And then I'm turning on the F sanitizer for the address, and that will actually tell me if let's just test it real quick. I'll not unload the surface from the SDL initialize section when we ran that surface for the icon. So right here, I'll just comment that out, and now we will compile it again and see if it complains about that. So I'm running it. I'm just going to close it. Look at that. It's going to tell me what happened too. It's going to tell me, where is it? Is it telling me what line? It should tell me what line this happened in. I know it's a malloc. Usually it tells me what line the source of my source code that it came from. But I know where it came from because I just caused it. Okay, well, a lot of times it'll actually tell you. It's hit miss, I guess, but sometimes it'll actually tell you. This sanitizer, I couldn't get it to work on the M3 Mac, but in Windows, it's not even an option. But it is really nice to check your code if you may forgot to free up some memory or something. So I'll just fix that. And that would also happen if I was allocating, say, game struct on the heap, or in Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, the other series. I've allocated a bunch on the heap there, and it'll show all that. This is just a very strict compiler. You don't have to do this. But I just want to see that it all works really clean, really nice. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.